So like in putting together the episode this week, I've been revisiting a whole bunch of like our older episodes, and I stumbled across this headline that I completely forgot about. Y'all remember when J. Cole was in Rwanda playing basketball, like for the African, and that was a whole thing for like a month that we were all really into?
I forgot about it till I clicked on this doc and saw this, and I was like, oh my god, that happened. That was
like
this
he
year.
played for Basketball Africa's League, and
we watched.
I watched one of the games.
Y'all watched the whole game. Y'all watched a couple games.
Oh no, I saw the highlights.
But I remember people was like, wasn't some of the players mad at him, and they were like,
we talked about it.
Took my spot.
I agree with him. I agree with it. J. Cole was just coming. He wasn't like.
First of all, if J. Cole took your spot, you ain't really have a spot. That's all I have to say.
No. They put J. Cole on the team because I don't know. It was just obviously for like, I'm going for my dreams, but it wasn't like legit. Like I get that because a lot of these dudes been working hard. I remember it was a guy who was like one of the better players on the team. He was like, man, J. Cole just coming here, just like, it's cool because he's putting a light onto it, but like people are really like doing this, like this is their livelihood. Like they really trying to, live life, trying to play professionally. You know what I'm saying? And J. Cole just coming here scoring 2 points. J. Cole didn't play good. He scored 2. He was the worst player on the team.
Okay, but my retort to that is the benefit of J. Cole playing for me will always outweigh the cost. One, he was signed to be a part-time player. He played in like 3 games. He played for like 15 minutes. And
he ducked out early too, didn't he?
It was like purely symbolic. Like from the get-go, it was he's gonna play 3 games. So that's why I'm saying there was no spot taken. Like I don't think they were gonna sign anyone else to play 3 to 6 games. If you think J. Cole took your spot, he just didn't have a spot on the team. That's what that was.
J. Cole's a good rapper, bad basketball player. That's it.
I can't believe. It's not that I can't believe that was this year. I just can't believe I forgot that this was a thing. That was just like.
It is really funny.
Like, but for
really funny.
That feeling of like remembering things we obsessed over for like weeks and then completely forgot about. It's sort of the theme of this week's episode, because we're continuing our year-end series and talking about our favorite headlines of the year. Revisiting, taking a trip down memory lane, because there's a lot of stuff that happened that I think because of the pandemic, we just don't remember things anymore. It's like after 3 weeks, it's like purged from brain.
All of my free space in my head is like 60% COVID knowledge now.
Yeah.
That just leaves a very limited amount for other stuff.
Literally. So we're revisiting all of we're taking a trip down memory lane, going back. Welcome to the 97 Demo Podcast, where we give you the latest in music, news, and a whole bunch along the way. I'm Nnamdi Wu, joined by
Noah McGee
and Avery Dalal.
And boy, y'all, do we have a fun episode planned. One, let me just, before we even get into headlines, I want to say I enjoyed our Artist of the Year discussion last week. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite discussion-based episodes of ours in a minute. That was like fun.
And can I be honest? Writing the little write-ups for the newsletter, 97 Demo newsletter coming out every Friday. We're gonna take a break after the end of the year. But yes, plug. That was one of my favorite things to write about. Seriously, like I had fun. Like just being positive, man. Seriously. I mean, not all of them were. Yeah, they were all positive. I guess I wrote the Kanye one, and his was like, he's always in news, but it was like positive because
I think they were all positive. We didn't choose. Yeah. Well, there wasn't. I think for everyone we chose is for like a good reason.
Thought of going with some guys who like have been positive, like our first.
Yeah, like Time, like a Time Person of the Year type thing. Like
Boosie was 2 jump skips and a jump.
But we decided.
Okay.
We decided they did not deserve it.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah.
But for anyone who isn't aware, our year-end series, every week of this month, we're doing something to sort of commemorate the end of 2021. Last week we did Artist of the Year, where we just went through 15 artists who we think help define the year, whether it's through their music or just using their platforms for something, or just sticking out and having a standout year. So definitely check that out. Our newsletter, like Noah mentions about that too. This week, we're doing headlines of the year. I did that whole setup like 5 minutes ago, so I won't do it again. But we're talking about 10-ish news stories that were just
a lot of news this year.
And you may have forgotten. And then, of course, join us next week for our albums of the year episode. But y'all, in figuring out where to start with our headlines, there's really only one that I can remember as being obsessed with from the jump, following up on it, covering it half a year, doing
Yeah,
an
and
episode
it feels
about it.
full circle because he released new music this weekend.
He
You
did.
know what's
First time in forever.
you know what's insane about this too? Not that this wasn't big news, but it feels like we were like, can we believe this is happening? I feel like this wasn't a big enough story. That's another thing too. You know what I'm saying? But
it was big. The streets just didn't care the way we thought. Look, okay, well let's.
What are we
So
talking
we
about?
decided we had to start with Morgan Wallen. That was headlines of the year. That really was sort of the first story I think I can remember us in the music.
who is Morgan
world
Wallen, Nnamdi? For the people that don't
sort
know.
of obsessing over. Well, Morgan Wallen is basically this rising country superstar who's been super successful.
The Drake of country music.
I believe that's what I call him. I call him like the Drake of country music. He was on SNL. I mean, not. I'm sorry. He was on The Voice. I think
It's
he
supposed to be on SNL.
he was sort of got his fame that way. Became really big in the country world, like country's bad boy. Got into some baby scandals. I think he like got kicked out of a bar. He got COVID and they had to cancel his SNL performance. But it kind of added to his like rebellious image that country liked him for. And then lo and behold, a clip leaked of him yelling the N-word while drunk at some of his friends who weren't black, but still not the greatest thing you want to leak onto the internet. And this happened, I believe, just weeks after he put out his album. Like it was right around the same time he had dropped his album. I don't remember the name of it, but it's his most recent record. And basically, he was quote unquote canceled by country music as an industry, which is really kind of fascinating to observe. Like country music radio stopped playing his music. He was taken off of Spotify and Apple Music playlist. He was uninvited for all his TV appearances were canceled. He was uninvited from award shows. His label temporarily suspended his contract. Like there was a really big sort of punishment. And the question that we asked back in our Morgan Wallen episode, what episode was that? That was like early. It was like in I think April. Our most successful episodes about this man, which is take that how you will.
February. This
Probably around February, yeah. But like the question was he canceled, you guys? His album ended up being one of the best selling this year, right?
He was not canceled. he got put in timeout, I'd say, for a little bit. You know, he couldn't perform. He was still up for awards, but he couldn't perform at said award shows.
And it was still kind of the pandemic too. So
yeah, exactly. So it's like, did it really matter? You know, I feel like he got put in timeout. You know, he got a slap on the wrist. Don't do that again. Learn his lesson, and he'll come back, which he did this weekend. So.
And how
with
did
a
he
rapper?
come back?
Does
anyone want to talk about how he did come back this weekend?
He came with a feature on a Lil Durk song.
Lil Durk.
What's it called? Broadway Girls.
Broadway Girls, which it's billed as Lil Durk featuring Morgan Wallen, but they only have one Lil Durk verse, so I don't understand. It seems like it was like the only way he could get Lil Durk to agree was maybe if he got lead billing, but like it doesn't feel like a feature. This is like, well, I just find it funny that the return track has to be a rap track because you have to show that we're cool now. I'm cool with the gang. It's cool. It's just yeah, the whole thing. I think 4 months into his so-called cancellation, they started slowly playing his music again. He, Morgan Wallen's made a couple of appearances over the last couple of months, like at some shows, like of some other. I want to say Jason Aldean brought him out, but I don't know if that's the right country man I'm thinking about. But he's just appeared at like other shows and stuff. And yeah, he has new music coming out. So I'll say his formal cancellation is sort of over. But mind you, even while he was, again, quote unquote, canceled, his album is one of the best commercially performing albums this year. It was #1 for weeks.
Dangerous, the double album.
Yes, there it is. That's what it's called.
The double album.
He was one of the biggest streaming. Like he was fine. His music was like fine.
I mean, literally, like when we did our mid-year, the most popular music, streaming trends, the most popular albums of the year, it was Morgan Wallen that stood out. Our episode 53 is Morgan Wallen, America's most popular music. Nnamdi alluded to it, one of our most successful episodes. And he stood out as one, as somebody that, was selling a lot of music at the time. So, yeah.
I mean, commercially, he's been killing it all year. So.
No, he has. Do you guys think like there will be any actual implications of this? So actually one link I think I put down, Avery, can you go back to the rundown? Let's see if it's there. Yeah, it was about Jason Isbell, who, there we go, that one. who is like sort of the opposite-ish of Morgan Wallen in a sense. At least that's how he's framed in this story. He was profiled by BuzzFeed because basically he's doing a residency at, I think it's called the Ryman in Tennessee. And it's he's doing 8 shows, and basically for 7 out of the 8 weeks, he had a Black woman as his opener. And he was saying how it was his way of sort of using his platform to, you know, sort of help, you know, even though he recognizes that him doing it as a white man and them being the opener, you know, there's still a dynamic there. He's like, this could give them a boost in country. So, you know, really great thing. And in this, he talks about like, you know, Morgan Wallen, he sort of talks about Morgan Wallen wasn't really canceled. You know, his point is like, all he said is like, you don't deserve to be on a pedestal. Like, you know, it's not like here we go. He doesn't deserve to be on a pedestal, so let's take him off the pedestal and put him back down on the sidewalk with everybody else. That's all anybody asks for. And this is coming from another successful, like, white guy in country. So I'm wondering, like, do you think we'll see more of this? Or do you think this is just, again, someone who may be an outlier?
I think the accountability that Wallen faced is like, in this Rolling Stone article that we had, kind of touched on it too, that like it's kind of unprecedented for a white male country star. And they even brought up like the Dixie Chicks back in 2003, who are now called like the Chicks. You know, they got basically canceled in 2003 for criticizing George Bush. So the fact that this happened to Morgan Wallen now, I mean, it's not great and not the most ideal outcome to where like, we don't know if he learned anything from it. But the fact that he did face consequences feels unfortunate, like some sort of progress.
Well, Avery, I don't know if you want to end on this, but the difference I would say is like, you know, we're not a political podcast, we're a music podcast, but the Dixie Chicks are obviously in a realm where it's country music. You know, they went against George Bush, who is a Republican, which, you know, when you think of, you know, country, I'm just saying, you know, when you think of country, you think of, you know, a conservative crowd, okay? This was an issue where Morgan Wallen said the N-word, you know, which is against Black people. Black people are not his biggest, you know, demographic of fandom. So if, you know, Black people are the people canceling Morgan Wallen, it's not going to affect them that much because they weren't the people that were buying his music, going to his shows or whatnot. If his fans don't care the fact that, you know, it didn't directly affect a lot of his fans who were listening to his music, and as a result, they're not going to cancel him. They're not going to stop streaming his music, going to his shows or whatever. Well, he didn't have shows, but, you know, in terms of like his music and whatnot. So I think that could be a difference, but I don't know. I think it just has to do with like, you know, if this was, I know Jack Harlow that did this, I think we could have possibly seen a huge difference in, you know, his fandom, you know, streaming of his music and whatnot. But Morgan Wallen is a country artist, where most of his fans are white anyway. I don't know. So that's how I feel about it.
Well, I wonder, is it more or less impressive then that country music sort of, at least for their part, held Morgan Wallen?
That's what I'm saying, is that like it's like it's progress in some way. Unfortunately, not as much as maybe we would want, and not as much as we've called for on this podcast, but in some way it is.
It was more of the industry and less of like fans like coming like.
No, yeah, and like when I say country music, I mean the like as the industry, not necessarily like, fans, but like
for sure.
The people behind the scenes who was like, okay, cancel his radio.
Let's take him off. Let's take him off these radio, you know, airwaves. Yeah. Good point. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
It's cool to see. I think it's just a sign of country music recognizing it needs to get more popular, and to do that, they probably want maybe to attract a more diverse crowd, and maybe by doing this, more people do. Because I'll say I'm more willing to kind of listen to country anecdotally, because at least I'm like, well, I don't have to associate you with what the stereotype of country music may have been. In the past, which hasn't always been as like welcoming in my brain to someone who looks like me, you know. Absolutely. So small wins, I'll take it. That was long start of Morgan Wallen. So the second headline that I recalled, and I was like, this was an actual thing. Our obsession with NFTs, which we also did an episode about this with Jonathan Mann, and like
we did an episode on all these things. It feels like
we did. That's what it's like. It's fun to look through this, and you guys have to remember NFTs. We don't talk about them as much, but like the first quarter of this year, it was
now people just make fun of people who like NFTs.
Yeah, because it feels like if we could do a timeline, because remember, it feels like the first quarter of the year, because we did the episode on April 11th, episode 39. It was like the first quarter of the year. It's like, yo, what are NFTs? They were bubbling. Jonathan.
Can anyone answer that question? Does anyone remember
his explanation of it?
or just like how to succinctly answer what an NFT is?
Oh,
I
yeah,
remember
it's
his
like
analogy. I want to see if anyone else does.
it's a digital asset, and it's something like that can be passed down. It's like a receipt. It's like you own a receipt of something.
Yes, that's what he did.
Yes,
He did say that. Yeah, yes.
Imagine trying to explain that. So wait, how do you buy it? Well, no, you don't buy it. You buy the digital ownership of it,
It's
and
incredible.
anyone can see it, but only you own it. So.
There's just
But
this
anyway,
new
music
crypto.
bought into this because a whole bunch of artists started doing like exclusive NFT drops and like charity drives. And the three I remembered were just, I know The Weeknd did a whole thing where I think he released like his single and something else as an NFT. Eminem did something where he did a Shady Con where he was putting different beats, shady beats.
Didn't Pharrell sell like a picture of himself as an NFT? I'm pretty sure
he did.
back
I wouldn't
then.
be
A lot of
shocked.
people got it.
Amy Winehouse did at least
her team, her representation.
Somewhat, her charitable organization auctioned a rare Amy Winehouse NFT. That's what happened there. So I mean, this was just a really big thing that I'm kind of surprised to see sort of like how sort of it went like this. And I remember when we talked to Jonathan Mann, he predicted, he was like, we're all talking about when we think is in a bust. I would imagine that bust has happened just because it doesn't seem like.
No, I don't think so. There was a huge NFT
there.
convention in New York City a couple months ago. Like,
Yeah, but there's
people
conventions for a lot of things, you know?
The people who are into it are really into it. I don't think a bubble has burst. It's still as popular as it is. It's just not as now like mainstream. It's fun to make fun of people who like NFTs.
Exactly. It's
but
not
the
mainstream
people who are
anymore.
into it are really into it. And
Well,
there's
that's
a
why I
whole market
wonder,
for it.
I feel like it was burgeoning mainstream when we were like before, and now I just feel like it's niche. Which is like, I thought NFTs are about to rise to like the popularity of like a general Bitcoin or something.
Oh.
And I don't think we see that, but it definitely, it's definitely still niche. Like I see people tweeting about it.
Sure.
And
I think everyone's
think we're
aware
all
of the term NFT. Everyone knows
Yeah.
now what an NFT is from the kind of. Everyone's like, okay, I've at least heard those three letters together before.
Yeah, I think we're all correct. Because I think it can still be niche and still be a market for them, and still like these people are still investing in it because they still feel like they can be, profit from this. There's still value in it, so it could be niche and still
at least in music
be a profit in it. Exactly. And music has died down a little bit, but
thank God.
Exactly. That's why we talked about it.
How people profited on it. Because my thing, like, I'm always down to tap into the next hustle.
I'm trying to get that bag. I'm all about the bag. You feel me, bro? I'm all about the bag, bro. You know what I'm saying?
I still couldn't conceptualize NFTs enough to like want to put my money into his house. I remember when we were interviewing him about it, and we were like, wait, so you need a wallet, but what's the website I go to get the wallet? It
was a lot.
Do I need a separate computer? Is that
Yeah, man. I'm still not into Bitcoin. I'm still not even trying that. I done got a few people on Instagram hitting me up. You know who you are. Hit me up like, hey, bro, Bitcoin. Hey, bro, like, nah, man. So I'm good. But yeah, it was a fun time.
That was a fun time. Okay, that was just a nice little fun trip. So the other headline that I definitely wanted to hit on because it was kind of big. I wrote it down as Taylor Swift taking re-records mainstream. I want to clarify. I know she's not the first person to do it. I know that. I'm well aware.
People came at you?
No, well, I just when I talk to people about it, people have said that they've been like, "Well, she's not the first." So and I'm like, I know that Taylor Swift's not the first by any means, but like, I think JoJo did it. I always give JoJo her flowers for re-recording her early stuff. Anna Shanti's doing it now too. But I think Taylor Swift being as popular as she is, and her fight with Scooter Braun being as public as it was, and just her bid for ownership, this story has just been cool to follow from almost like a business perspective. Like we saw every stage of this. Like I remember when Big Machine, her record label, sold them to Scooter Braun. Remember when Scooter Braun sold them to the financial whatever company. And I remember when she was like, "Hey, I give up. I'm gonna re-record it." And like now she's doing it. The craziest thing about this is how the sort of vice grip she's had, at least her fan base, because I don't, her very big fan base, this entire year on songs they've all heard before. I'm not sure I thought this was gonna work as well as it's worked for her. Like re-releasing the songs with a couple new newbies and selling hundreds of thousands of copies, and having the most successful like rollouts like for 2 albums in a year.
You know what's shocking too, considering Taylor's like in her mid-30s, like the fact that she's at this level, because this past week we just saw Bruce Springsteen sell his catalog for 500 million. You know what I'm saying? Considering he's been around for. You talk about this picture?
I'm just like, what is? Okay.
But
in the same spot. It's like
yeah. It's whatever. But no, considering Bruce Springsteen just sold his whole catalog for $500 million, and now that Taylor Swift's basically at this level, and she's in her mid-30s, which is like really, really impressive. Like, just the fact that like she obviously hasn't sold her music like that, but like the fact that she's taken ownership of her music like this is pretty insane. And considering we haven't seen this from an artist at this level, literally when they're in the prime of their career, like we might see it like years after they were like the pop star. But Taylor Swift is the biggest or one of the biggest pop stars in the world. She's doing this right now while she's actively making albums. Where she made an album last year, 2 albums that came out last year. It's insane. It's unheard of. So people coming at Nnamdi saying like, "Hey, bruh, like we haven't seen it like this."
I wouldn't even. Okay.
No, they're not coming at you.
Well, someone has checked me about it, but like no one's coming at me crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll establish that she's not the first, but again, like I think her being as big as she is, and like Red sold 605,000 copies first week.
It's been an event. It's been an event, and she finds ways to reinvent the album when it comes out. Of coming up with longer versions of songs, getting new features on those songs, doing TV performances of those songs. Like she repackages it, where it's like you're not getting what you got 10 years ago. You're getting that plus more. And for someone with a dedicated fan base like Taylor Swift, it's got to be pretty rewarding to watch how she's grown, especially from like this album that came out 10 years ago.
Absolutely. That's what it's really her fan base too that makes her uniquely equipped to do this.
Yeah.
Because I don't think even popular artists, I think I'm curious as to how many other fan bases would be okay with their favorite artists taking 2-3 years and saying, I'm not coming out with like really a lot of new stuff. It's just going to be these re-records. And, still being as fervently interested as at least the Swifties are, it's very impressive. So like, shout out to everybody. I will say, y'all see the news that it wasn't a Taylor Swift listening party, but it was a listening party for Taylor Swift music.
I didn't like the
and
framing
Australia
of those
has
articles.
like a super spreader event there now.
Yeah, I really didn't like the framing of those articles.
I have a question though, guys.
It was messed up, and they did it on. It's clickbaity.
It's on purpose for sure.
Yeah.
No,
I get it.
I
didn't like it.
I know we're not, business experts, but how much do you think Taylor Swift could sell her catalog for? Just speaking of like, music ownership, take ownership back.
So her new catalog, I don't think there's a number. Her old catalog, the original first 6 that she doesn't own and is now re-recording. I imagine those are still worth a lot of money, but they can't be worth nearly as much because now the reason why this is genius is like if someone wants to use "I Knew You Were Trouble," right? But they don't want to piss off Taylor Swift, they're just always going to use the Taylor versions. But so when it's licensing, or even if you're a fan and you're streaming and you're going to listen to the Taylor's version. So the original, that's not worth a lot anymore. That's just genius.
It's exactly. It's just kind of devalued it.
It was very much
so in a way.
Checkmate.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
In a way, she devalued it, but brought value to herself. It's like, y'all not gonna get it. This is mine now. It's just, man.
That's why I respect this more as a business move than an artistic move. That's why I think it's cool that she came out with longer.
And the fact that she put the effort to actually re-record it too. Like,
none of her fans are listening to the original Red.
None.
Literally none.
None of them.
They're listening to Taylor's version.
And that's a lot to say because like even me as a fan, I can't think of like even like some of my favorite artists, like if they re-record it and be like, that's gonna sound different. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's a hard thing to do, even like if you're gonna enjoy an album. Like, Nnamdi, think of your favorite artist, Avery, think of your favorite artist and re-recording the album and it sounds a little different because they re-recorded it, 8 years later. That's not an easy thing to do as just a fan.
Yeah, how mad I would be if Frank Ocean re-released fucking Channel Orange.
And it sounds like,
exactly.
I mean, really.
You'd be like, really, bro? Really? You know what I'm saying? But like, that just speaks to Taylor Swift's power overall, which is impressive. So, shout out to Taylor Swift. She was on the Artist of the Year. She was on the Artist of the Year. Who wrote about her?
Artist and headlines. Would she get a full trifecta? Would she be on the album?
Tune in next week.
Tune in next week.
I hope we ever re-record on our album of the year.
That'd be kind of crazy, bro. That'd be like That is trifecta. That is
has,
Infinity Stone of the 97 demo.
She has a writing credit on an album I'm going to put out.
We already know. See? You just spoiled. You're a spoiler. Spoiler.
That's tough. We'll get there when we get there.
Spoiler.
Okay.
Spoiler.
Oh, so this is definitely a big. So next headline, guys, that we're revisiting this week is one of the biggest this year, without a doubt, is Britney Spears and her conservatorship story. So this didn't start in 2021, but it sort of hit a new. It sort of took off this year, I'll say. Like last year, we had the Free Britney movement, and we were all kind of just laughing a little bit at them standing out like courthouses in pink and like, you know, trying to piece together her Instagram dances. But like, hey, they were onto something because this year we've seen this story really take off. And I don't really know if there's a way you don't know what happened with this, but of course, you know, back in 2008, when Britney Spears went through her public mental breakdown that ended with her being in a conservatorship, which meant she had no control of her person or finances. Her dad was eventually appointed her conservator, which meant he made all decisions about where she worked, what she ate, who she could see. Like, it's literally most of the time it's old people or really, really sick people are in conservatorships because it's meant for people who can't
take care of themselves,
handle autonomy. They can't, you know, they can't control themselves. So for an able-bodied, you know, woman who was still performing and making music to be in one, that should have raised question marks in the beginning. But I guess the story itself is that she's finally out of it. Also sort of put conservatorships on the map, because I didn't know to an extent what this was until this story. Call that ignorance on my part. I'm in my early 20s, but like this was informative in that aspect, as well as just sort of a huge story this year, as well as just sort of we all reflected on the treatment of Britney generally, right? So
yeah. I mean, that's another thing. Another person that was on our artist of the year, but yeah, it was kind of interesting for like us to look back, considering, you know, we were alive obviously when Britney Spears was like popping and, you know, the biggest pop star in the world, but we were really young and we looked at it as, you know, a really, you know, naive lens of like, oh, Britney Spears is crazy. Like, look at her. We ate it up.
We didn't look at her.
We ate it up. Exactly. You know, we had a really childish way of thinking about it. And looking back, you're like, wow, like the way she was treated was pretty terrible. Just like on a week to week, month. Justin Timberlake is we went down that road. We don't gotta. He know where we stand. You know where we stand, JT. Okay, you know what you did, bro. You know what you did. You got a couple things to answer for, but especially that trash album. Anyway, oh, I just went in, bro. That was too much. But coming for you. But you know, this trial really brought a lot of things to light, especially like obviously the Free Britney movement was just like, it's been around for a while, considering that first guy we referenced last week, you know, that did it way back when. But the fact, leave Britney alone. But the fact that, like, you know, it went to this level.
Chris Crocker, that was his name.
Wow,
Chris Crocker.
Look at you.
And the fact that it got to this level where, you know, people are supporting Britney to this extent, it's really appreciative. And
deep.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. Britney deserves to be free and be in her, you know, and make her own decisions and whatnot. And it's unfortunate that it's been this long. You know, she's been taken advantage of on multiple.
How much do you guys credit the New York Times in that documentary for like?
Well, yeah, they did a lot of great reporting. They did a lot of great reporting just overall.
Incredible this year.
Yeah, they did a lot of great reporting.
I think they also did a lot of like shedding light onto the situation, providing context for the situation, and you know, kind of making it seem more reasonable beyond what we knew from the Free Britney movement. You know, making a very accessible documentary and providing.
Does the New York Times need another Pulitzer? Do they need another one? Like, geez,
I'm sure they will get nominated for something.
They're probably gonna get another one. Okay. They will,
something, because that really was kind of great reporting. That
it was great.
So, you know,
yeah, for sure.
Shout out to them. Okay, so here's a couple fun ones. Nirvana Baby. I remember.
Yeah, break it up a little bit.
That's that was the goal. Yeah. So the Nirvana Baby in his lawsuit.
This was so funny. This was funny.
Spencer Eldon, who is the baby pictured naked on the Nirvana cover for Nevermind. He was suing. He announced a lawsuit where he was trying to get $150K from each defendant, and there was like a list. So like he was trying to get some bank.
He was trying to get that bag,
he's naked with his wee on this cover.
But mind you, he's capitalized off of it in the past, like in a positive way. Like
he's recreated it, right? Wasn't that the thing?
Yeah, like he's embraced this before. So now, like in 2021,
this case, it's evolved. Yeah,
He
He
exactly.
made it
and I was
part.
like,
He
you know
made
what?
it part of his
Actually,
identity. I remember that
exactly.
was the argument. He
Yeah.
like on his birthday, he'd recreate the pictures and like I think he may have a tattoo. I may have read that somewhere. Like he was
Would not be
cool on it.
surprised.
But now he was like, you know what?
Tired of this.
Hey, devil's advocate, is there an argument to be made? Like, yeah, this literally has been part of my identity because it was forced to be. I didn't have a choice in that, and I had to do that. But now that I'm old enough to process my emotions,
he's 30. Like he could.
I've realized that this was actually kind of horrible.
I feel like some lawyer got in his ear and was like, "Hey, you can make some money off this."
Granted, if I didn't get paid either, I don't know if I'm.
Yeah, but
to
me, the thing is, I think it's just a little too little, too late. Like, you know, this album came out almost 30 years ago. You know what I'm saying? It's something he's been like really open about, bragging about, like, yo, I'm the Nirvana baby. Like, this is what I do. And if it's something he came, exactly. I mean, iconic cover and whatnot, but I think this is something he could have came with like years ago and been like, hey, like, I never got any compensation for this, or my family never got compensation for this, or my parents or whatever.
Okay, but my thing that's my thing though. If he's acknowledging about compensation, I don't think 30's too old for me to say, can I get my money? Can I get my money? Can I get my money?
I think just based on the last 10 years of him embracing it and like being like, haha, yeah, it is me. Yeah. And now be like, all right, actually I want money for that. It's like, okay, come on, bro. Like, we know your intentions don't feel entirely pure here.
Exactly. It's not like he's been screaming from the mountaintop.
I swear we read somewhere where it was like he was pushed. He did this because he tried to get in contact with them and couldn't or something.
Yeah, it was something stupid. That's the thing. It was something stupid. Like, if it was really intentional, like, yo, people, like, he's been screaming from the mountaintop for years, like, yo, I never really got paid for this. Like, he was really sincere from the beginning. But no, bro, that wasn't you.
Y'all, he hasn't met anyone who hasn't seen his genitalia.
That's a crazy line.
Okay, you know, the more I read the details of this,
This man wild, bro. This man living a wild life. That man living a wild life, bro. This man great. What's his name again? What's his full name?
Spencer Eldon.
Eldon.
I will say from like just an update standpoint, so apparently he's narrowed down his list of defendants and he is suing Kurt Cobain, and part of the evidence that he's using is a journal he had where apparently Kurt Cobain was like, did say some crazy stuff in that journal about like infants and what he wanted to see infants, do. And his lawyers are saying like, well, no, there's reason to believe that the reasons, they wanted this naked baby were malicious. So it's not out of question that he may get a couple dimes. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
This could be a small settlement. I mean, $150K in the grand scheme of things, or how much money he's asking for. It's
$150K from 15 people from 15 each.
True.
Yeah,
but onto another story involving genitalia. Y'all remember Nicki Minaj's cousin's friend swollen testicle?
How could I forget? It's one of the best stories of the year.
This is
I must admit, I was the ones like, y'all, is this story legit? Like, man, like, do we really need to talk about this? Is so stupid. Like, why we gotta talk about Nicki Minaj's crazy tweets? But I didn't think about the other part in terms of like the coverage of it. I'm forgetting about the anchor from
Joy Reid.
They
have the same birthday, by the way,
which is insane. Exactly, like how big this became in terms of like obviously like the press people at the White House were like, it was a lot. Y'all could explain it better than I can, but
Nicki Minaj was doing a Q&A with her fans on Twitter. One asked her why she didn't go to the Met Gala. She, in a series of tweets, mentioned that she didn't like being told. Was it like she didn't say? I remember the whole thing was she never said directly. I think it was the vaccine mandate, but she kind of did. And then, she said, like, I didn't want to fly. She was like, it's not about the vaccine. I just didn't want to fly to the Met Gala. But in explaining her hesitance about the vaccine, she mentioned, this is it. She said, if I get vaccinated, it won't be for the Met. It'll be once I feel I've done enough research. I'm working on that now. In the meantime, be safe, wear the mask with 2 strings, whatever. And
she also mentioned like, if I want to go on tour, I'm probably gonna end up getting vaccinated.
She did. That's what I'm like. Did. She wasn't as anti-vax as I think a lot of the coverage suggested, and that was sort of what I was trying to establish. Now,
but
she did bring up now asterisk. She did in a tweet explaining, suggesting some of the why she has to do some of the research. She said she has her cousin's friend in Trinidad became impotent after he received the vaccine, meaning he kidnapped kids. His testicles became swollen. The friend was weeks away from getting married. Now his girl called off the wedding. So, just pray on it and make sure you're comfortable with your decision, not bullied. So Nicki Minaj was recounting that story and explaining. It
was in the Dominican Republic, right?
Her fans to do their own research.
Trinidad, yeah.
The fact that this was real.
And another thing, because I think this was serious too, because then remember the government was like, where is this person? We would like to know.
They were trying to find him.
They were like, if this is real, can we please, we haven't heard anything, but if it's true, can we please hear something about it?
So,
We'd like to know.
Noah's
this
point,
is serious. Yeah.
To Noah's point, as silly as you may say the tweets were, the response. So the White House had touched on this. People was asking Jen Psaki at the press secretary about, are there links to infertility, and Jen Psaki had to say, contrary to what Nicki Minaj's cousin has to say, I don't think, Fauci was talking about this. There's no, this isn't a thing. The government of Trinidad and Tobago, the health minister was saying, we have conducted a search. We have not seen anyone with these characteristics.
Well, they were like, if you exist out there, we'd like to see you.
Come.
We'd like to come. We'd like to talk about this.
Baby, it's not COVID, but you need some help.
You need some help.
Like your cousin's friend is probably not the most faithful man in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Like,
that bachelor party was a little too much fun there. Excited. A little too excited there. You know what I'm saying? Like a little too much fun there. So
this was just a huge deal, and honestly, this may be the funniest story, the story that I'm the most excited to revisit sometimes. It was just. And then Nicki Minaj wouldn't let anyone breathe. She was coming out poor Joy Reid did it. But here's why. Let me tell you what happened. I feel from never mind. Let's keep it going.
Well, no, I was gonna say this though. Remember, she said, "I've been invited by the White House. They said they'd like to speak to me."
I forgot about that.
And then Jen Psaki said she was like, "We have not invited Nicki Minaj."
Which that was messed up. I didn't like.
I felt like a missed opportunity.
It was a missed opportunity, and two,
you wrote about it. You wrote about it, Nnamdi.
It was malicious. I forgot I did. It was malicious. I feel like it was a little malicious in the sense of, did the White House formally reach out to Nicki Minaj with a date and say, come this day into the White House? No. But did someone at the White House contact someone on Nicki Minaj's team with some sort of, Jen Psaki was like, oh, we do that with everyone. It was just to answer questions. But I'm not surprised if the low-level assistants like, yo, we could probably set up an Instagram live with Fauci. We did it for Olivia Rodrigo. We could probably, so I feel like to completely throw her under the bus and to say, make her sort of look crazy, like she pulled it out of her, her behind. We have to figure out our cursing policy. I don't know.
She went at everyone.
She did go at everybody.
If you tweeted about Nicki Minaj, she probably quote tweeted you.
Oh yeah, for sure. At you. So she was with all the smoke, but it's still a funny story considering like I just don't believe that your cousin
then Fox News tried to defend it.
Tucker Carlson video
with the tweet with the caption, of a target with an arrow spot on.
Tucker Carlson nailed this point.
You got this, bro. So just a really crazy, insane, messy story overall. Well, I think everybody on all sides could have done something better. Like Nicki could have, kept some
not
tweets
tweeted
herself.
Her cousin's friend's private business.
Exactly. The White House could have took advantage of this opportunity of this is an opportunity to really open up, vaccinations to a whole demographic that hasn't gotten them at all, educate people and whatnot. And with Nicki as the face, guys, I've been I spoke to Fauci, there's a lot of things I didn't know. And Joy Reid, obviously, Tucker Carlson just an idiot, so it doesn't really matter. He probably would have done the same thing. So, but I think a lot of different decisions could have been made all around, and
this could have been positive, and it just kept getting worse in every way.
And then we stopped talking about it, and we never came back to it again. Okay, that was fun. That was a fun little side note. What do we have? Oh God. Okay, we're not even gonna spend this much time on it. R. Kelly was convicted this year on all accounts and in his racketeering trial. This is a racketeering trial because the actual charge wasn't that he sexually assaulted women or raped women, but it was rather that he operated a business in which the main focus was to recruit underage women and transport them across state lines for the purpose of sex. So prosecutors kind of had to jump through hoops to find a charge, and they did that because the statute of limitations had passed for a lot of the your sex abuse crimes. So this is a way for them to hold him to account for dozens of accusations, and he was convicted. Mind you, so that's a hard case to prove, but the evidence in this case was just so bizarre and astounding that they managed to get a unanimous conviction, all charges. So he's now in jail, and this was just one trial too, right? This is the one that was in New York. He has another one in
New York.
Chicago.
Yeah, he has another one in Chicago coming up. Yeah, and this was interesting because this news came out the same time around the Britney Spears verdict came down, and those things, the episode was kind of like a joint of R. Kelly and Britney Spears, and some of the things that were resulted from those cases. But there's nothing really insane to talk about this. I mean, R. Kelly's track record of some of the terrible things he's done is well recorded, and
let's talk about Drake still using the TSU thing, because I feel like if anything, the story now became what are the implications of this, and that was this was in September. When did TSU come out? That had to have been
when the album come out,
or the album
September.
Earlier September.
First week in September.
So this came out during trial, pre-conviction. So that I feel
it's not right.
I'm pretty sure
right at the time, and it's not right now.
I'm pretty sure Avery wrote about this, and that song could have been done without giving R. Kelly any credit. Yeah, it just was unnecessary in the song. Like the sample that they're talking about, we didn't even hear at all, barely. Like you can barely hear it. You have to isolate, some sounds from that.
It's why didn't you get OG Ron C to re-record it by himself?
Re-record it, or why didn't you just do it yourself?
OG Ron C.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you needed him on there, just get. You
probably could have got it. He's around. He's alive. He's here. Avery. Drake. We know you the man in Texas. We got it. Go to him.
He wishes he was from Houston. We know, but
we get it. We get it. Houston, Atlanta, Vegas, all of the above. Exactly. We get it, bro. You could have just done it yourself. You could have got somebody to do it themselves. So, it was just a lame excuse to be oh yeah, we kind of had to. It's no, you didn't have to.
Do y'all think R. Kelly, who, as far I think his music, because this is America, people have their rights. Sorry, I realized I was far from the mic. I think his music is still on streaming. Do you think he'll continue to have a fan base, or do you think he'll be forgotten? I never see anyone admit on Twitter I still listen to R. Kelly, but I see the people who are I don't care what y'all say. I listen to Chris Brown and I listen to Tory Lanez, and when I see that, I'm okay, so R. Kelly's probably not too. Is this jumping?
I imagine there's some older audiences that will still just listen to R. Kelly. But I don't know.
I wonder, is it ignorant to just assume it's older? I guess I'm wondering, are there rebellious listeners? Do you think the people who are there will just, they don't care?
Yes, there is, but I think as time goes on, he will be forgotten more and more. As generations go on, there's going to be less and less. I won't be passing down R. Kelly, to my kids.
Which is so sad, because I Believe I Can Fly was supposed to be that song for all of us, but look.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm saying I think that could be a thing where unless we show our kids Space Jam, something like that. But I think a
long episode.
Yeah, exactly. But I think as generations go on, I think he'll be forgotten more and more. And I think the only difference between that and Chris Brown is that Chris Brown and Rihanna kind of came to a reconciliation, kind of like they started dating.
Yeah, and I don't mean crime wise. I just mean if you have if you can separate the artist from the music. I wonder, if you can do that still with R. Kelly.
Yeah, for sure. So, but yeah, bye R. Kelly.
So the next sort of headline, I sort of just put Kanye as a monolith, the same way, it was just because it was everything he did this year. I think the biggest thing may have been the way Donda had sort of all of us paying attention for 3 months. So July, which I say was the first listening session, and then he just would push the date. It would come out every week for weeks, and then he started doing these. So there was just a lot with Kanye. I feel like this was Kanye's first year in the headlines this much for music in a while.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because even when he was releasing Yay and Jesus is King, there was just always so much other all the other antics that you couldn't. This is the first time it was just about what is the new album.
It was until the last listening party when some certain faces showed up. but which we we'll get to. But I do agree. Like this was a moment. It's like, wow, Kanye. We're getting mad at Kanye for something that's just music related. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't like
it was refreshing.
It was refreshing. Like Kanye does a lot of things that get us mad because like what he says and like a lot of ignorance comes out of his mouth. It feels at certain points. But with this, it was like, can we just get the album? Which is it's better than what he has previously done. And yeah, it was just unprecedented. I mean, I wrote about it. I did that little blurb. People doing listening parties is nothing new, but the fact that he did it for stadium crowds and really created a whole show where like by the time we got the album, we'd have heard 3 renditions of the album, different versions of the album by the time it came out.
And we were still just as excited to hear it too. I feel like
exactly. I mean, I remember I never forget that Sunday morning, Avery like, it's out. And we was like, oh crap. Like I think it was just like the word it's out. That's it. So I mean, yeah, Kanye killed it this year. So and that was insane, the whole listening party experience. So yeah.
Yeah, I hate that now. I feel like his divorce is sort of overtaking this like Donda rollout as a headline that he's more prominently featured in. But again, I think it was just sort of refreshing.
He's not helping that case. Saying "Free or Please Kimberly" at the end of
I saw it
at the concert.
Apparently, whenever I see a TMZ write up of the Kardashians, I'm like, okay, so someone leaked this to TMZ, and it was like basically him saying like, I find it funny that he said that while living with his
girlfriend. And it's like real.
God, Kanye, you are just something.
But I'm glad for most, because obviously the last listening show there was some faces there that, the baby was there.
Yeah, let's talk about his embrace of the baby and Marilyn Manson.
That was another thing we had a problem with. That was just like bad timing, and the fact that Kanye probably did it. He's like, you know what? People are saying I shouldn't have them here. I'm gonna bring them here just because people are saying I shouldn't have them here. You know what I'm saying?
He deserves forgiveness too.
Exactly. And the baby was on the Jail remix, obviously, and whatnot, or the Jail Part 2, whatever it's called. So yeah, I mean, a lot went into this, but yeah. So is the baby next? I'm hoping that's a transition that we haven't touched because we can kind of all roll in all these things kind of. Honestly,
wow, we can. That actually is. These are really all one big head. Okay, so we'll do Lil Nas X first.
Everything's connected here. Seriously, everything's just connected.
Bro, this is like literally any one of those little boards.
Exactly.
I put Lil Nas X on here, and his headline, I guess, would be his release of Montero and that rollout. Because if you remember, that was a lot. He had a pregnancy for a while. He had the Billboard, he had the little like vignette trailer things. Like he put a lot into it. It was also a combo headline though, with his beef with Boosie, who throughout all of this just sort of had a tiffy, like just throughout like
a homophobic tiffy.
Homophobic tiffy. This was not a fan, and very often was quick to point it out. It was almost obsessive, and I think that sort of was like, if hypermasculinity in hip hop had like a character arc, I feel like this was the arc. It started with Lil Nas X, who was saying like, look, hey guys, like I'm gonna do this in the world of rap. It's not what you're used to, but I'm gonna do it, right? And you had antagonists established as Boosie, who's like, no, like I don't like that. It's bad for the
T.I.
My biggest song, maybe Wipe Me Down, but like it's bad for the children to see this gay guy performing. Like no, like. And say that all the time and like get really like heated about this. And then you had the baby waltz in out of nowhere doing a Rolling Loud set and then say, if you're not outside doing something with your mouth, put your hands in the air. If you don't got AIDS, put your hands in the air. And it's like
none of them deadly diseases. Oh, that was so stupid.
And he said this, and mind you, he never called out Lil Nas X. These stories were lumped together a lot, and the baby never specified it. I think you just have to be it was one of those read between the lines thing. Like you have this sort of really, really prominent thing happening in hip hop. And then DaBaby just happens to say this like at the same time.
DaBaby's featured on a Lil Nas X song too.
Yeah, he's been which is insane. I mean, episode 54, Lil Nas X and DaBaby and homophobia and rap. That was a really comprehensive episode we had with Baby Spider. One of our best conversations, honestly. We said a lot of great things on there. But kind of like the overall homophobia and rap and how it's evolved and like not even evolved, but like as artistry has changed and people are, more comfortable being out and being who they want to be. Still this idea of homophobia and people just coming at people for who they are. Like the fact that T.I. was like, it's not hate, it's just who I am. It's like,
yeah, Avery,
really?
can you pull up a timeline of the baby's comments?
Yeah, exactly. And like, T.I. was like also defending him with that whole thing. And obviously it also lumps in with like the misinformation on AIDS and HIV and sexually transmitted diseases and whatnot. And yeah, it was just an insane thing overall in terms of what the baby said. It was really not even ignorant. What's the word? It was just misinformation going out there about what he said and how it affected.
It was ignorance too, though. No, it was.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. So
I guess we're kind of the baby section now. An update from that is like the baby said those comments, right? Reminding us that rap can be hypermasculine. It's fine. There's room for both to exist.
It's about being who you are. You can say whatever you want to say.
He didn't apologize for a while. He actually released a music video called "Giving What It's Supposed to Give," where at the end of it there was a title slide that was like, "You can't give me the freedom to be me the way you want the freedom to be you." It was something corny. Kind
of biting Lil Nas X stuff with like the, he's in prison and stuff like that. I remember that.
And it was rainbow colored. Like it was like
really bro. His verse on the Kanye song was talking about how like, I can't feed my kids because you guys can't.
Like, really, bro? Stop it.
Because of course, all the festivals kind of canceled him for a little bit, but it was stupid though because that's over now. Rolling Loud quietly added him to a festival slot. He got booed for a little bit, but that was funny. And now I guess the baby's fine. During his apology tour, he met with like 9 HIV awareness orgs. They all say he ghosted him, so nothing really came out of that.
Nothing really happened.
No lessons really learned. He was canceled from tours for like a couple months. Now he's back on. Now he's putting out music. He's fine, and
he's okay.
That was like such a big. It's almost funny to consider how long we talk about some of these stories versus like what the ultimate impact is and power of just being quiet is. Like he was quiet for a month. He's getting festival slots again. It's fine.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm still like as angry as I was before, considering like what he said and how ignorant it just was, and how many people he hurt. Like considering like Nnamdi, you said this on that episode. You're like, there were probably fans out there who might have had HIV, who were gay, whatnot, that felt that kind of stigma in that crowd, and were like, wow, like I'm the baby fan, and this is how he feels about people and how he feels about his fans, really. So just a lot of negative going on all around. The fact that like really nothing came of it positive, he didn't do anything really. I don't know.
I mean, he didn't make really interesting music in the first place. I was really listening, but now, especially, I'm not gonna try and listen to Baby.
Oh, at all? Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, this kind of this just confirmed. This just confirmed me like, oh, I really don't like you. I really don't like you now. Avery's like, oh, I didn't like you anyway, bro. So like, we kind of could. So yeah. Ooh, a lot of music, guys. A lot of stuff, guys. A lot of stuff. This is a tough.
This one.
Go ahead, Nnamdi.
But like, I mean, we did this one recently enough. So
yeah, like
I don't know how much detail we have to go into. But of course, the Astroworld tragedy just might have been, I think, the single biggest music news event story tragedy that has happened. Of course,
maybe in the last couple of years, honestly, since the Ariana Grande thing. And
well, as far as tragedy, something on the scale that was and this one's a little bit worse because it's still a little bit feels that it was avoidable. Everyone who organized the event will tell you otherwise, but like I think these are preventable deaths. Of course, during the first day of Travis Scott's Astroworld Festival, organized by Live Nation and Squaremore, supposedly secure by Houston Police Department and Live Nation Private Security, whatever. Just throwing out some stakeholders. Of course, on the first day, 9 people. Eight
people died that day, and then 2 people in the week following.
Yeah, 8 people died that day, 2 people the week following, 10 in total, all from asphyxiation. The youngest was not. So that means they were all squeezed to death because these crowds were just super packed. We interviewed 2 people who were there that just told us that it was, you couldn't move at certain times. You were packed like a sardine, and it could get hard to breathe. So
they were depleted of oxygen.
That's how they could not breathe. And that just unfortunately just how they died. There were 50,000 people were ticketed to be there. We of course have seen video of people storming the barricades. I almost don't know why that 50K is still being reported. I think it's safe to say more than. And they it's really sad. Young of 9 years old. People who died, I believe it's between 9 and like 27. So young people, like these aren't still had a life to live, and definitely rest in peace to them.
I mean, I think the sad part here is just the lack of accountability all around. I mean, nothing else. That's like, obviously people died and it's terrible. Like the lack of accountability all around. Like Travis Scott did that interview where he was just like,
that interview was so like nothing was said in that interview.
Nothing
we didn't even cover it last week because
nothing of substance was said at all. The police department hasn't said anything of substance at all.
Everyone's just trying to save their ass, and I think people underestimate how easy it is to notice when that's the case. And I don't know if maybe Travis was advised to do that interview. I personally don't know why he does that interview, because I just don't think this is the time you want to come out if all you're saying is it wasn't me. Like, I'm sorry, but it wasn't me. There was nothing I could have done. And it's like, okay.
Everybody could have done something. It wasn't one singular person or group's fault, but everybody had a part to play, and these were avoidable deaths that happened on everybody's watch. Not just Travis Scott, not just Live Nation, not just the police. Everybody played a part. You guys all have played a part. That's just sad.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, the biggest music news story was a sad one, but that story isn't, I think, going anywhere. I saw a headline that I think suggested all the people suing. That's now going to be one big lawsuit. Travis Scott has requested to be dropped from the lawsuits because the same week he did that interview, he filed in court that he isn't legally liable for any of the deaths and should be therefore dropped from the suits. So that's happening. So I guess we'll unfortunately see how that ends. Our condolences to families of anyone who lost anyone, or anyone who was just there and traumatized. Like, that's not great. I guess the last real headline has just been the Grammys can't get it together is the headline, and it sort of comes. There's a lot of places this goes. It starts with what I call the legacy of the weekend, which was them sort of just announcing that they were going to drop the anonymous nominating committees. That their job before was to narrow down categories, so they would like sort of help finalize who made each who were nominated in each block for a majority of the categories. So they no longer exist. Now it's just the voters who vote, which is nice. Legacy of the Weekend. He still said, because of course when the Weekend wasn't nominated for After Hours, he was like, oh, it's because of the anonymous committees, it's BS.
That's still insane. The fact that album, Weekend's
Blinding Lights, is the most successful song ever. Didn't get a single Grammy nom. People will use that stat. And then it also goes from it also goes like this year Drake withdrawing his albums, but I was gonna say even after that, then the nominations came out and Casey Musgraves was barred from country, and that was a headline because now it was like, okay, y'all ain't letting people be what they want to be. And then the nominations were actually coming out, and the day we found out, a day before, they came out on a Tuesday. That Monday, they decided they were going to expand the award categories of the Big Four from 8 to 10, which just made it really hard to list out any of those categories. And then it was there was changes every week from then. And then it was like, oh, Taylor Swift is nominated for writing on Sour. Then it's like, oh no, she's not. Then it was like Marilyn Manson's nominated. Oh no, he's not. And then Drake. There's just been a lot with the Grammys this year.
And it's crazy because it's been all this year, because we did that episode, How Do We Fix the Grammys, on March of this year, episode 35. Insane to think about. That felt like a year ago we did that episode.
No, I appreciate you having your phone just telling it. We did episode for so many of these that
it's crazy. I was like, we did this early, last year, right? It was like, nah, this was this year. Insane. Yeah, exactly. There's just a lot of problems going on with the Grammys. It's crazy because a lot of discussion we had back then, there's been some changes, but there's a whole nother round of problems going on with the Grammys. On top of what we talked about, now this, we talked about some problems the categories and whatnot. And that almost feels unimportant considering a lot of the other things that have just happened with the Grammys of like, you know, just a lot of things of like the snubs and, you know, why can Taylor Swift not be nominated? It's like, I don't get it, honestly. Musgraves being barred from the country, like, really?
Well, the Taylor Swift one was because they're not saying she didn't write anything on that album.
Yeah, I know, but still, it still didn't make any sense to me.
It's like, why wasn't this figured out beforehand?
That's
exactly
what
that's
this
the thing.
Organization was going on behind the scenes that
like you were the
many
foremost
things were not decided.
Yeah, like you're the foremost leading organization in recognizing the achievements of music over the past year. Why don't you have your shit together?
Can y'all act like exactly? That's what it is for me. I think that's what all of this has been all year. It's like, you're supposed to be the pinnacle. What is going on?
If we're supposed to trust you as like the place to recognize achievements, why can't you figure it out before you announce a nomination? You have a whole year leading up to it to do that.
And we said this then. Y'all are messing with a lot of artists' bottom line. Like Grammys, like that affects a lot of people's, you know, way of living. You know, obviously these are, you know, successful artists for the most part, but like, you know, Grammy nominated or Grammy winning artist next to, you know, whatever producer, whatever, that is a big impact. It matters in this industry, and you are gonna get a lot of connections if you are involved with the Grammys in any way. So I mean, yeah,
even just being nominated, like I hadn't heard of some of those.
That's exactly Grammy, exactly.
And I've listened to them now since those nominations have come out. So like,
absolutely,
you know, like just figure it out, just be organized.
Why do we think Drake withdrew his 2 nominations? Well, beyond my theory, beyond what my theory is, but
ego.
He didn't think he was gonna win. That's why.
Yeah.
Which is just
which
with purpose. Like,
well, the thing is, I agree.
Hear me out. No. If the purpose was I'm mad because CLB should have been nominated for Album of the Year, then someone needs to have a hard talk with Drake. About like what the game
they gonna get fired. Okay, don't get these people fired, Nnamdi. He's like, hey Drake, can we talk? Bro, he'll get out my face, man.
I'm just saying, if that really
you gonna get somebody fired, Nnamdi, on Drake's team.
I'm just saying, if that was the issue and it was just like I should have gotten a general category, you know, album, record, song of the year nomination.
Your album wasn't that good, bro.
Look, I get a lot of people ain't gonna say it. I'll say it. Drake, I bump it. It's a hit. It's catchy. That's not a Grammy album. This is
honestly, I think even Avery, who's a great. Well, honestly, we're all big Drake fans. F that. We're all like big Drake fans. We all enjoyed that album. Seriously, we all really are. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like, hold on. Yeah, exactly. But Avery, seriously, like when you were looking at the nominations and you looked at these rap albums, you're like, wow, I could see any of these rap albums winning except Drake. Seriously.
CLB.
Seriously.
Yeah. And then if it would have won, people would
Avery said, okay,
to say like, oh, look.
Avery's crying inside right now. Avery is the mask.
Well, no, I was gonna say, so I don't want to make anyone mad here. It's fine.
No, go ahead and say.
Oh, see, trying to come at people.
There's a lot of rap albums on there that shouldn't have been nominated for.
Name one.
Oh, don't do it. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. We are not doing this.
No. I don't think there's some of the songs.
I think Vince should have got nominated.
Isn't one of them.
Vince should have got nominated. I don't think Donda should have got nominated.
Oh yeah, Vince should have got nominated.
Oh, I think we say. I think he should have got nominated.
He should be.
Oh, so wait, who shouldn't have been?
Oh,
Kanye.
Said Donda. Kanye West. We're not doing this. We are not doing this right now.
Well, we are not album of the year now. So.
Hold on, we are not doing this right now. We are not doing this.
I said only one of the rap albums got an album too, and
True. Good point. But I do think somebody like Vince should have got nominated. Honestly, like with his album,
it would have been nice.
Fact, that would have been great, just like that recognition. Like Vince put out an incredible album, dude.
Like one of the best albums of the year.
We should have reviewed that. I'm so mad. We should have reviewed that. I'm so mad. We should have reviewed that.
A couple good albums from that era. I don't really know what we were doing. We'll do better next year.
Especially with Vince.
We'll be better.
I wanted us to end. These aren't really headlines. We're just acknowledging some big people in music that I think we each like at least heard of that passed away this year. Not heard of, that we knew that passed away.
Yeah.
It was gonna be most recently Young Doll, but as of today, unfortunately, we had another death. Drakeo the Ruler. Where is he from? I saw a whole bunch of people. I want to say West Coast.
Yeah, let's
not lying.
Because
I know this was at a LA festival, so I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's an LA artist. Okay, LA artist, based from LA.
Yeah, he was literally stabbed. Like he was backstage at a festival, and someone came up to him and just like stabbed him, and that was. Some people have been saying why at a festival someone able, after Astroworld especially, is someone able to just walk in with a knife. I asked
Great
that same
point.
question.
Good
Great
point. Good point. Where was security? Good point. A lot of questions are gonna come from this also.
You're
Like
so
how
young.
somebody.
It's 28. Jeez.
Yeah, really sad. I mean, Young Dolph too was another one that was recent after his was a couple weeks ago. Really
Yeah.
sad thing. The
Really
fact
sad.
that what
Man.
happened
His I believe his funeral ceremony was like last weekend or something. It was pretty recent.
Yeah, that was recent. Bismarck Key was another one that was shocking, like where we thought he died and he didn't,
And then they said he
ended
didn't,
up
and that was but I think he was like
really sick. He was really sick, like really sick. And then maybe like a couple of days later, he did die. And obviously the big one this year, DMX.
And I know these are all big tear off here too.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, but obviously DMX was like the biggest artist.
The biggest,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Biggest. The most prominent.
The most prominent. You're right. Yeah, the most prominent artist.
All very.
All sad.
Not an artist, but Virgil Abloh passed away recently.
Yeah,
Virgil Abloh was
very sad
one because he was big in the world of music. And I was so shocked how many people did not know Virgil Abloh's like
really who he was.
Yeah,
his impact.
I mean, even when I was at work, people were like, "Oh yeah, he was like." How is he connected to music? And people were like, "Oh, I think he designed like clothes for Kanye." And I'm like, "Well, no. Do y'all not know? Y'all know like these
Kanye's
6 album covers right here, the iconic ones, the simple but iconic. That was Virgil.
And the insane how many he's done. He's done everybody from Kanye to freaking West Side Gun. Like that's insane.
He did
the fact, Lil Uzi,
he's done a lot of people.
Yeah, man.
He did Pop Smoke, but he did a lot of people. I shouldn't have brought up Pop Smoke. I'm sorry. Anyway. So I hope the whole point of this episode was I hope you guys enjoyed that like trip down memory lane. That was the point of this. Just sort of
long year.
It's been a long year, and it's easy to forget some of the headlines we have. And this has been. Has everybody keeping track? We know where we're at. Are we longer than an hour?
Probably. Yeah.
It's okay. We go speed through it.
We're going speed.
But thank you for sticking with that. Next week we're doing albums of the year. So that was headlines.
More
of
positive.
The year. Yeah. Albums will be next week. More positive. And I think even this episode, there was some good things, some lighthearted things.
Some funny things. Yeah.
Not everything was great, but this, what are you gonna do? So
we decided to be journalists. It's our fault. We decided to be journalists.
Is this good? Why did I feel like Gucci Mane had a Christmas album before this year? Has he done this before?
I feel like he has.
Right? He's definitely
he definitely has. Gucci Mane has definitely had another Christmas.
He done a Christmas album, right?
He's a festive guy. He's a festive guy.
Festive guy.
So we had new albums from Roddy Ricch, Live Life Fast. We had Chief Keef for. Sorry, I can't talk. I tried to talk fast and I couldn't. We had Chief Keef now. Phone him. I'm messing with that one. So I See Christmas by Gucci Mane. Boldy James the Alchemist, Super Tecmo Bow. And then we had a couple new songs. A posthumous track from Aaliyah featuring The Weeknd for her upcoming album. And FK Twig. So what Morgan Wallen's foray into rap with Lil Durk, which is his redemption rap song. So tell me what you guys are listening to. Go off.
Avery DeLaw.
I mean, I haven't listened to this Roddy Ricch album. I became a big fan of Roddy Ricch after his last album.
Are you Stan? Is this? Are you laying the foundation of your 2022 Standum?
I mean, I don't know. I liked it. It was really good. It's Roddy Ricch. He's very talented. Lots of piano cuts.
Yeah, coming off a big year in 2020, 21 and 20, he had a
killer.
I like that he
killer verse on Donda. A killer verse on Donda.
He did. He had a good verse on Donda. It's weird. Is that his thing now? Dropping albums like right before the year ends.
Yeah, because they did this last with.
I know, because next year we're gonna be like, wow, Live Life Fast. That come out in January. That come out in February.
It was like. Exactly. So
that's why I haven't listened to it.
Really?
And then this
please excuse me for being antisocial.
That's what I was gonna say, antisocial, and I was like, is that right?
It was in there.
This FK Twig song with The Weeknd's really good. Here's in the quote.
Speaking of the Weeknd songs, did y'all listen to the Poison song? I know do we need to have another posthumous? I think we've had 2. So do we need to have a third posthumous release episode?
I don't think we need another one. I think people already know where we stand on that, but I think this is just another thing. Like, originally when Aaliyah was coming out with her albums, we were like, it's a good thing. I know some people are mad, but this is a good thing that people are able to listen to her music. Yeah. Now these new albums coming out with new music, where all these obviously old verses.
I didn't know this was part of the.
Come on now.
I just hope they do. Like, it's one thing to re-release the album with maybe two new tracks like this, but if they do a whole album of this, you can hear in the song that it's clearly like her old voice, enhanced to whatever ability they can, and like trying to fit this. It just doesn't, because you hear how manufactured it is. It's a constant reminder that like, oh, she's not with us. This is not her. She didn't record this right now. Like, you know.
Yeah, behind
this. I don't know.
This verse was not meant for this production. You know.
Exactly.
Like that.
And it's like it's hard to get past that. As much as I love both Aaliyah and The Weeknd, that's why I'm just let us enjoy their legacy. It's okay. It's okay.
Speaking of The Weeknd, though, he had a track with FKA Twigs, which was good.
I think Avery talked about that a little bit. That he was
you're right. Yeah, Tears in the Club. Good song. Weeknd's just killing it. We still waiting for, he kind of alluded to an album coming out soon, and we haven't got like an update on that. Like,
I'm happy. He needed to wait. I'm buying.
Yeah, he needed to wait. I think somebody on his team was like, "Hey, bro, we need to chill, bro." Like,
it's almost been 2 years.
He said, "Hey, bro, let it breathe." But still, After Hours, like, still that album. I think
that's why I don't need him to come out with something quick that messes with the legacy. I
agree. Like, After Hours is still being bumped. People still love that album.
I mean, it's almost been 2 years though. Like, it's been.
But he performed it at the Super Bowl. But he performed at the Super Bowl this year already. Like, he can.
Yeah, which notice I didn't make one of our headlines. So
yikes!
It wasn't that bad. It was still good.
It wasn't.
You liked it. Nnamdi liked it.
Hey, I thought, considering the constraints that I thought they had, it was fine.
I mean, memes came out of that. A lot of funny things happened.
I still remember it almost a year later.
It was still a fun time.
Can we talk about? We need to spend a bit of time on this Morgan Wallen track. So Broadway Girls.
I don't think we need to spend much time on it.
I got something to say.
We've talked about Morgan Wallen too much on this episode.
It's Lil Durk featuring Morgan. Did we already talk about this song?
Yes.
Did you do it during his section?
I mean, we mentioned that he's back.
I'm gonna do it again.
He did a song.
Weird because Lil Durk is on one verse. I believe. I fast forwarded it, so I hope I'm not wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's mostly Morgan Wallen. So it leaves me. I kind of feel like it was Morgan's team tried to do it. Lil Durk was like, "I'm not featuring." Like, we can switch up this billing or something. Like, look, I don't know.
I heard a clip. And I was like, this is going to kill it in North Dallas suburban high schools. And I was like, I'm not listening anymore.
I almost dislike that he came back with rap as a sort of like, be cool now. Like, no, just, I would have just come back with your, give me a good old country song. Just come back. You know what I mean? Like, does this not feel like?
It feels like what you think it feels like. So
honestly, I don't think I want to talk about it anymore.
Exactly. I'm done with Morgan Wallen forever.
I'm kind of done.
I'm leaving Morgan Wallen in 2021.
All I'm saying is that's our most popular episode, so y'all may need to get back on that train.
You're right.
I just thought.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
I thought we had stimulating.
Some other white person is gonna mess up next year, and we'll talk about them then.
It's fine. True. Okay.
Morgan Wallen's spirit is gonna run through.
Morgan Wallen.
Sure, his collab with Lil Durk doesn't warrant discussion, but it's fine.
Morgan Wallen is not the last white person that's gonna mess up. So
I know it's happening right now, guys. Somebody's doing something right now.
Burna Boy, can we talk about this Burna Boy Biscuit song? These are the two Nigerian giants. Well, honestly, African giants together.
You wrote about him too. You wrote about these Wizkid before too.
I have B Dior. I think it's a hit. Burna Boy was actually supposed to do a show in Madison Square Garden. We were about to buy tickets, then Marion came through. So the tickets are still available. I just don't know if
I like how you slipped that in there. That was good. I give you points.
So I just want to give them a shout out. Then I'm done. I don't have anything else to talk about. So
I mean, I'll just say Bodie James the Alchemist. It's like an EP, but it's an independent album. It's really good. I mean, hopefully if Omarion doesn't ruin this, I can go to the NBA Leather tour in Chicago soon with Bodie James, Action Bronson, Earl Sweatshirt, a bunch of other people. So hopefully Omarion doesn't ruin that. But it was solid, man. I mean, Alchemist and Bodie James, like, I don't know if they can do anything bad. I don't think Alchemist can do anything wrong. Like, honestly, I don't think he's just like incapable. You know what I'm saying?
He's had a moment that's lasted like years now.
Last 2 years, dude, he's released some incredible albums.
It's a long moment.
Yeah,
he's killing it.
Long moment. But yeah, man.
I feel that. Okay, well, cool. I'm gonna fly through Billboard highlights really quick because not that much has changed. On Hot 100, Easy on Me is still number one. It's been on the chart for 9 weeks, and for 7 of those weeks, it's been at the top. And then everywhere else, Christmas is coming, and you know it. Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas is now number 2. I can't wait to see if Easy on Me is stronger than Christmas music, because most of the year this top 10 is just
I don't think so.
like
I don't
Powerful
think
is
songs.
Adele.
I don't
How much
think
power
she's
does
that
she
this
hold?
powerful.
this is testing the power.
I don't think so.
But also, how
Christmas-
powerful is Mariah Carey? You know, this is two giants battling.
I agree,
Yeah.
but the Christmas spirit is one of the most powerful entities in existence.
I know, but that song also didn't go to number 1 till like 2 years ago. So I mean, you know,
Christmas is on a Saturday this year. You know, we got a whole week leading up to this, so
That's what
You
I'm
know.
saying. So
people
I think,
aren't gonna have work this week. You know,
yeah, exactly. I think the Christmas spirit is
Friday's probably a day. off.
y'all talking about artists. I'm talking about the Christmas spirit. That's a powerful
feeling. It's a
entity.
feeling.
It's a feeling.
look,
Okay.
wait,
That's a strong
we
thing.
will find out in 2
Maybe
weeks.
70 degrees
Every
outside,
2
but-
weeks will be the Christmas chart. and
Exactly,
we will see what happens if Mariah Carey returns to number 1 with her annual bag. I Hate You by SZA also debuted at number 7, which I think is very
Ooh,
noteworthy.
go ahead,
I want to
girl.
say that maybe the highest debut she's had as a solo
You think
artist.
that's gonna be on her album? I don't think it is.
Oh,
No,
well, I'm sure it's gonna be.
I think it's gonna be a bonus track.
She didn't expect the success, but now that it's been the successful, I'm sure she's gonna use those sales. Like,
I think it's gonna be
a
a bonus track for sure. I don't think it's gonna be like in the in the middle.
Well, I
though.
guess we'll have to see. Over on the Billboard 200, the album chart, not that much is going on. Adele and Taylor Swift are still number 1. And next week though, Taylor's gonna drop to number 3. Adele still expected to be number 1 with like 140,000 sold first week, or excuse me, 175,000 sold first week. Juice WRLD's new posthumous album is gonna come in at 125-ish, and Taylor Swift and Michael Bublé are gonna duke it out for 3 and 4.
Bublé.
Red versus his Christmas album. So yeah, that's what we're getting up for on the Billboard Hot 100. So Morgan Wallen still top 10. We're not talking about him no more though. It's cool. Never again.
We're done.
Project of the week.
Yeah, for sure. My project of the week is "And Such Is Life" by Demajiae. That's DEMAHJIAE. Honestly, I listened to a lot of artists that I saw at the Wiki Navy Blue show, honestly, because I was like put on. And Demajiae, he's featured on a lot of those projects, but I never listened to any of his projects, so he was super dope. He has 2 projects out. I listened to Samira the Truth. She's from Chicago. So yeah, those are 2 artists that were at the live show, but this project in particular came out by Demajiae, And Such Is Life. Really short projects. He has a project that came out in 2018 called Ghetto Blessings that was really good. So yeah, y'all should check him out.
Cool. My project of the week is The Blueprint by Jay-Z. Someone earlier in the week mentioned Song Cry, and it just made me really want to listen to Song Cry. And then I was listening to the album, and I got really caught up on Renegade, which Eminem is featured on.
Oh.
And killer song. And I think Eminem's second verse on that song might be my favorite verse of Eminem's career. It's amazing. It's amazing.
A feature.
So,
Wow. I wonder how Marshall Mathers would feel about that. It is a great verse.
he killed it. It's so
But-
good. So
Yeah, he killed
but
it and
Do I
Jay-Z.
have-
Sorry.
do I have a
I mean-
favorite Eminem verse.
look, early
That's
Eminem was
tough.
in his bag, and his second verse on this on
Bag.
Renegade is just amazing. I love it so much. So
I
those
heard
songs.
I heard Royce was supposed to be on that song originally because he used to
Oh,
write
really?
for a lot of people. Yeah, that's what I heard.
Wow,
But yeah, that's what
it's
I heard.
a cool
though.
song.
But
It's a really cool song.
cool song with a legendary verse.
Mhm.
Nnamdi, who is this? Ooh,
Okay.
So I chose
how do you even say this?
Lil J and Sarge. They're 2 separate. Lil J's a guy, Sarge is another guy. I want to say Lil J's singer, singer rapper. Sarge is a producer. Love and Attention, little EP they put out. This is a Afro. He's from Nigeria, so Afrobeats guy. And it's like a nice little 5-minute Afrobeat sort of hit collection that I'm really been a fan of. He kind of got co-signed by Wizkid on one of the songs.
Cool.
The song, the title track, Love and Attention. So that's sort of like how I found him. But the whole like EP is fun. It's like a really good like this pop sort of summery-ish sound that I enjoy. So
When did it come out?
I don't really know when it came out actually. Oh, June 4th.
For
Came out June
people
4th.
All
for
right.
people who aren't watching, it's spelled LVNATTN. So it's like not
Yes.
love and attention spelled out. So it's like LV's one word, and then N is one word, and then
I would just search
ATTN.
Loj first, which is like
Yeah.
LOJ Well, Lojay, and then you'll
Yeah.
find him that way. But it's a really like solid. It gives me. I love it for the same reason I love Thames.
Thames,
like,
ooh.
track.
That Thames project
but
has
honestly, we should have. I'm not. Should we do an EPs of the year and an albums of the year? Because there's a couple EPs.
I like projects of the year. I
There's
like
a couple EPs that like I want to make the list, but I just feel bad. I'm like, it's only 5 songs.
that Thames EP is
It's great.
fire.
It's so good.
Fire.
So I'm gonna put this on our playlist this week. So as will all of these songs, they will all be on our. You'll have songs from all these artists on our playlist. So definitely check that out. That will come out on Wednesday. Again, check out our newsletter. If you read last week's, thank you. This week will be even better. That will come out on Friday. And if you've been listening to now, you already know what day our podcast comes out. So thank you so much for listening to us, rocking with us. Share, tell your friends about us, and we will see you next week.